Welcome back everyone to FedUp, and this is part 2 of our discussion of generative AI. I'm Tim.
I'm Wole.
And in the last session we covered some examples of AI in government, and we talked through some use cases, and we did a bit of myth busting on some of the truths and untruths and discussion around that area. But for this episode, we're going to go a little bit deeper into what it means to get ready. A bit of data readiness and general readiness. Wole, in your experience, what are some of the things that an agency needs to do to get ready for rolling out?
Good question. So there are a lot of different things that we're seeing that agencies should do and are interested in doing to get ready for AI. Some of it is around their data, so they need to look at the data that they want these AI systems to leverage. Yep. And then the other important part is around their people.
Yeah, I mean, the data readiness is a big part, right? Because the garbage in, garbage out. But I think that's an old IT adage.
Sure.
But what about when it comes to trust? Trusting the answers and understanding, when I type something into my Microsoft ChatGPT,
right,
the answers that come back, how confident can I be in them?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a question that we get from agencies all the time. So think about what we talked about in the first episode. One of the use cases that is interesting to a lot of government agencies is having a ChatGPT experience in front of their own private agency data. Well, if that data isn't the correct data, or they have duplicate versions of data and different information in each one of those versions, well, it is a little bit of a garbage in, garbage out. And so that is part of what agencies should be taking a look at as far as data quality, as well as data governance. The other part of the conversation is what data should people have access to? Do we want to make sure that we apply security and rights management and things like that to data that people will have access to in some of these generative AI systems?
Well, and the Microsoft AI and the co-pilots, they are naturally security checked, right? If you don't have access to that document, then you won't see that result, right?
100%. That's the way that, exactly. So Copilot works exactly in that way. So with Copilot from Microsoft 365, for example, if I'm a user using Copilot, I'm only going to see what I already have access to. However, if the organization hasn't already done that data governance, doing things like sensitivity labeling, or doing things like rights management, or preventing oversharing, then I will see things potentially that I shouldn't have access to, or they may not be classified in the right way.
What's funny is this is not a new issue, right? Like if we think back to we were just chatting earlier, back in the SharePoint days when you hooked up SharePoint Search to your file share, that respected security permissions, but stuff would get surfaced.
Yeah, 100%.
Like when Delve came up.
And that's what I was going to mention. Yeah, Delve. So Delve was a technology within Office 365 that in many ways exposed that oversharing was happening within the organization, and people didn't know that. And so some people got a little bit freaked out by it.
Yep.
So Copilot is similar. Copilot only has access to what you already have access to. So that's why it's important to make sure that you have good data governance and good data hygiene practices in place.
That's it. But easier said than done. So AvePoint recently got together with AIM, the Association of Intelligent Information Management, and we did a global study across over 700 different organizations, different countries around the globe. Some very interesting findings, right? Of the CIOs that we interviewed, 80% said they were ready. They felt they were ready. They said, yeah, my data estate is ready. I'm ready to roll out AI. But more than 50% of them had some serious challenges when it came to data security and data quality, exactly what you're talking about. The reality of the situation is there's a lot of information management practices, a lot of governance that just isn't there today. But we have an opportunity to clean that up. So what are some of the things that you would recommend putting in place to help people get their data ready?
Well,
Situation sensitivity labels and a few others.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a technology called Microsoft Purview, which is designed to do exactly that. And so many of our customers own it. So what we're seeing is that interest and excitement about Microsoft 365 Copilot is becoming a little bit of a forcing function for agencies to start to take a look at the tools that they already have to ensure that they're doing good data governance. And so I would ask agencies to start making sure that they are leveraging those tools to apply data governance to their data prior to using things like Copilot.
And this is one of the areas that AvePoint can help with as well. So we actually have a framework or blueprint, as you might say, for data readiness, leveraging the Microsoft environment and the Microsoft tools together with some AvePoint solutions. We call it our prepare, secure, and optimize framework, right? So prepare means cleaning up your old data, getting rid of old versions, getting rid of what we call rot, right? Redundant, obsolete, and trivial, because you want your results to be relevant, right? You don't want old data and old versions of documents affecting your results. But at the same time, it's risky, right? You might have some compliance issues or things that should have been disclosed and they haven't been. So, that's step one is preparing. Step two is securing, right? And it's exactly what you said. How can we scan our data estate, look for potentially overshared documents, and be able to rectify them and then optimize by putting some automation and governance control in place.
Yes.
And what's funny is, again, from the survey that we conducted, we found that less than 30% of organizations had automation in place for their data governance, which means that 70% are still doing it manually.
Right. Yeah, we've seen that as well.
And that helps exacerbate why things are falling through the cracks, right? Like it's not difficult to do, but it's just something you've got to roll up your sleeves and do it.
You're right. The other thing I say that is important in addition to data governance is people readiness.
Right.
When you're bringing in new tools like AI, we need to make sure that we do change management, training, in order to, first of all, allay fears and concerns, but also to enable users to best exploit these tools.
Absolutely. So I think that wraps up for today's episode in terms of some of the things you can do to get ready for Copilot. If you want to find out more, absolutely hit up your local Microsoft rep. They'll be more than happy to talk to you about different ways you can get ready for AI and Copilots. And also, don't forget to check out AvePoint. You can download our study where you can find out more information about the findings from how other organizations are getting ready for data readiness, as well as our blueprint that I mentioned earlier. Wole, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.